everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Knee Slapping K-Pop podcast. I am Kayla, and today I am here with Sammi.
Hello, hello.
And today we are here for our yearly update on the genre of K-Jpop and what's going on with that, and all of the groups that belong to that genre now, and how it's a very, very rapidly growing genre.
Eventually, we are going to get to the point where we can't talk about all the groups. Like, we can't even mention all of them at some point. We're just going to be like,
yeah, I mean, and we have actually lost track of some of the groups we talked about last year who have just not been as active, and we haven't paid as much attention to them. But we do have several new groups to the list this year, so. And this is always like a vibes-based episode, really.
It is. I mean, the subgenre of K-J-pop is real because there have been actual publications using that term, but also I think partially coined by just us having these vibes.
Yeah.
Pre anyone even like we used
I think
that
it
term
was
3 years ago.
Like JO1, I think is really the beginning of it when we realized JO1 as a group existed, and they were a J-pop group who made music that sounded like K-pop. And it was better than a lot of the recent K-pop that was coming out around that time for us. And so we were like, this is a cool genre of music, like J-pop, that sounds like it should be K-pop.
And now, at the same time, we are also trying to keep up with, we look in every time we try to do this episode on what real J-pop is doing.
Yes.
And now, I am starting to see a shift in real J-pop.
Yeah, it is
not in a good way.
It's turning
but
into
it's just
like
very weird.
The noise music K-pop of like 3-4 years ago, kind of, is where it's at right now. Because so our base
like,
groups we check in on,
worse.
Yeah, is Snowman and Six Tones. We always check in on them, see how they're doing. Realize that we still don't like real J-pop, and then we
don't
move on with our lives.
Because also they are just weirdly some of the most successful J-pop groups at the overall still. We picked them randomly not knowing that.
Yeah.
But weirdly we did pick good ones because they sell super well in Japan.
They do, because they're the Johnny's groups. I think they debuted literally on the same day or very close to each other. Debuted the same year as JO1, so that's really, I think, why we keep using them as a comparison, because they're the next, newest J-pop boy group of the big companies there.
Yeah. It's like them and, King and Prince.
Yes.
Because I also know that they're very popular.
Yes.
But I have no opinions on most, and that's also because that they were, covered a bunch.
I know, that's really also how we learn about J-pop, is whatever produced Japan's doing is we also learn about J-pop that way.
We learn. Because, no one else is gonna do any of that.
No. But I think our big problem with, current J-pop and J-pop generally is still the weird singing style that they have, because that's been a constant throughout just regular J-pop, and we've talked about it's something that if you're not used to it, especially coming straight from K-pop, it's kind of jarring to listen to, and it hasn't changed at all, and it's still there. So that's a big part of it. It's interesting
because it's something that is very talked about with J-pop girl groups, that very specific higher pitch style of singing that the girl groups do. Not as much talked about the fact that the boy groups do a similar thing.
Yeah.
Though they are just starting with a lower register generally, but it's still
they're doing a very similar technique or something there.
Yeah. It's a very weird thing to listen to, especially coming right out of K-pop. And also coming right out of K-J-pop, where
they don't do that at all.
Where they don't do that. It's still sung in Japanese. And it's a similar, now that J-pop is doing that more noise music, and K-J-pop is doing it too, the songs aren't sounding the most dissimilar, but you can really hear it in the vocals.
Right.
Because the K-J-pop groups, like your JO1, your I, your DX-teen, all of them are singing like normal people.
Right.
They're singing with the voice that is just sing.
Yeah.
They're not, it's just, and again, a lot of it's probably the training that these kids get, and I don't want to fully put it on they can't sing.
Right.
I think it's more so that they were told to do this.
Yeah.
and this is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we've decided to stick to it.
And we've just,
I guess it's working for the people that like real J-pop.
Right, because the real J-pop people, I think, they don't have any problem with it. So, I mean, clearly that's the style that's popular there.
Yeah.
I think it's especially not, like, the style that K-pop fans want to hear all the time.
Oh, yeah. And just really interesting because, like, generally I don't look for, like, what's going on with, like, actual J-pop people.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, I don't know if there are that many that are just, and I don't know if it's still because of, like, interest, like, all the stuff going, different things that happen with, like, copyright claims and everything, because I know Japan has no copyright protections in any way. There's no fair use in Japan.
Right.
But for the most part, the people that I see making content about JO1 and I and all that are K-pop people.
Yeah.
It's not that many.
Right.
Because they're not in, like, your big K-pop creators don't make JO1 I content because they're outside of that. And, like, that's fine. They're not technically K-pop.
Right. And they don't need to, they're not paying attention to this. Like,
but at the same time, the people that I do see covering K-pop, the K-J-pop, are either K-pop creators that are just into that too, or people that cover, like, a lot of different Asian music. Like, it's not specifically J-pop people.
Yeah.
So I do wonder how they are in just J-pop. But then again, I don't know if J-pop is the most I don't know if I want to say the most. It's like if you're outside of Japan and
right,
you are into J-pop, the odds that you are also into all these other different things increased.
Oh,
greatly
yeah,
increased
definitely.
Because I don't think you're just, especially now, I think it's very much more common to be a K-pop fan, period,
right,
than to be a J-pop fan, but also you like Thai pop, but also you like K-pop, but also all these other things.
Right, definitely.
It's just an interesting.
I feel like J-pop, like, regular J-pop has a lot less of a, like, international, like, appeal, Western appeal to it musically. Yeah. And I feel like the people who are really into J-pop are also into, like, anime and a lot of other Japanese culture things and are used to consuming that type of content, but I feel like K-pop especially has a much more international pull, with a lot of the music starting to sound more Western as well.
Yeah.
And J-pop currently, at least the mainstream J-pop, is not quite doing that yet.
Both yes and no. I think for foreigners, I think I think it starts either with J-pop or not, because I also think that J-pop is kind of where K-pop was, at least for like if you're a like an anime fan.
Mm-hmm.
I know so many people that like anime, and they're like, yeah, but the J-pop's kind of cringe and stuff like that. I think it's far more common for that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're into any kind of Korean culture, the odds that you at least, I'm not saying like it, but have a modicum of respect for it, and like something within it. Because I think it's super easy to ignore J-pop.
Yeah.
If you're into other aspects of Japanese culture.
Right.
It's a little harder to ignore K-pop if you're into Korean culture or just general Asian culture.
Right.
It's a little harder. And again, not necessarily that you have to like it, but that you at least have an understanding of it. Because you can fully ignore J-pop. You don't need to have an understanding of it.
Right. I think
you don't need
the most understanding that you get is if you're like real into anime, and then you look into who is singing the anime. But openings.
Even then, you're mainly going that route into J-rock. I feel like a lot of times.
When you're doing that, you're not going to like mainstream J-pop in most cases, anyway. Yeah.
So that is our again. It just feels.
General opinions on the state of regular J-pop.
The other thing with that is I also don't think J-pop cares. I think J-pop's still fully into just being Japanese.
J-pop is one of the largest like music making industries in the world that exist, and they're selling mostly just in Japan.
Just for Japan.
They don't have to change anything about it.
It's still so like other than, because again we get like JO1 we found our things for, but like even other people like and Team, for example, who we're gonna get to.
Right.
they're being sold. They're one of the few that I think are trying to get to Western market, mainly just because it's Hybe.
Yeah.
And if you buy directly from Hybe anyway, you're just going to be able to get them from any, like, K-pop seller.
Right.
And I think that's the same for, like, your Nizius and everyone that's directly linked to a
K-pop company or something in that way, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so should we go through?
Yeah.
That's our thoughts about the general state of J-pop.
Right,
the answer
right.
is it's the same as it's always been. I don't think anyone cares.
It hasn't changed at all in the past year, is where we're at.
I truly think everyone just is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, I think that I'm happy that I don't have to hear more J-pop than I thought I would. Like, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. All right, so do we
we
want to start with the big ones and then go down, or do we do the big ones last?
I think we rank them by our
order in any way?
I think, Kayla, we should right now just do them by vibes of our favorite to our least favorite.
Sure. Okay.
Which is like kind of not really what it's in, but we'll go with it. So
yeah.
We'll start with the definite number
JO1, yeah, because they're clearly still winning the K-J-pop.
They're clearly
battle.
Still our favorite boys,
right?
They're our favorite boys.
The love for them has fallen off for them a little bit just because of Boys Planet, unfortunately. Because
here's the thing: the only thing that is able to beat our last favorite produce made group
is another
a new produce made group.
Exactly.
And this one is temporary, so
I
like,
know. So it's like
I
gotta really get the most of my time out of here with ZB1. But JO1 will be here forever. So
JO1 just again, I think this year with JO1 was interesting because we had Tiger.
Yep, that was a little
last year.
Yeah.
We had Venus.
Right. We really got both sides of the JO1 music.
I mean, that's what JO1's been doing.
The last couple years, that's what they've been doing. Is they release one kind of more noisy song, and then one more like, I don't even know how to describe the other type of music, but it's the like not noisy
somewhat
song.
whatever Venus
is,
drama.
Yeah, kind of drama.
But then also you had like New Smile, like they're hitting all the markers.
They are.
Because like New Smile is just adorable.
That's fun and cute. They do also do the fun and cute pretty often as well, in like various forms. But because sometimes it's like Dreaming Night, that was like an OST and stuff. But they normally do that in some way every year as well.
Again, I think this was like a more, I don't know if I want to say chill year for JO1.
Right.
Just because they've been doing a lot. I know that they were touring a bunch in Japan.
Yes, and then they did also do their first non-tour outside of Japan, which was like in Asia still, but it was their first like non-Japan
They're venturing out.
Tour.
They're being allowed out of the house.
Which does give me hope that we will one day get them in America, but we'll see.
Cross your fingers.
We'll see.
That's the other problem with it technically being still J-pop is that J-pop doesn't tour here.
The only group that I know does is like Baby Metal, and that's even like a weird J-pop as well.
And like Baby Metal is like a phenomenon more than a group.
Right. The only ones that I know for sure have toured is that, and then also like Hatsune Miku.
Who you can put Hatsune Miku on a project. Hatsune Miku could be doing 8 tours in one night at the same time. Like, that's objectively, like, barely a concert.
Right.
Even though I have known multiple people that have gone to Hatsune Miku
I have gone to a Hatsune Miku concert.
Including you. I have not. I don't like robot voices.
Yeah, that's very fair. It's
very uncanny valley.
It's very weird to listen to. I do see it.
Yeah.
But it was I think a more mediocre year for JO1 overall. In terms of, like, the music that they have made in the past, it seemed like they've done better.
I think I feel like they're just sort of like, I'm not going to say coasting, but it's like they don't need to establish themselves.
Right.
We're just going to
they're just a group now, and they know the type of music they're doing, and see, Pone seems to have a very clear like image of what type of group they are as well.
And I think they have a solid idea of that.
Yeah, definitely.
A little bit unlike the next group we're going to talk about. I think we should just go down.
Yeah, we'll just go down.
Because I also had a kind of mediocre year.
Yeah.
But in a different way than JO1.
Right.
Because I think that they're still trying to figure out what I is.
Yeah, because they were releasing almost exclusively noise music title tracks, and then they went back on that this year, and it's like, that song was fine. Like, I did like it better than some of their more noise stuff, but also it also feels like we're kind of overlapping too much into the JO1 sound as well now.
Because they did Fanfare, which is fine.
Right.
That's more in the noise music.
Yeah, that was like more typical style.
But it kind of felt a little bit like they're pulling back a little bit, because Fanfare kind of feels like a P1 Harmony song.
It does.
Where I'm like, this isn't full, like, mechanical.
Right.
It's just loud.
It's just
loud, I like that. I prefer that. I like songs that if you're gonna do noise, I would rather be loud than it just be pounding.
Definitely.
Is what I call a lot of the noise music I hate.
But
then
Fanfare
was
that Fanfare was fine. Then they did Hana, and that's like that could have been a JO1 song. Like I could easily see JO1 also doing that song.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I like it. I just feel like they don't particularly have. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to do the same thing they do with JO1, which is give them two distinct identities.
Right.
But
they can't be the same identity.
They can't be the same two identities.
And I do know that I'm pretty sure I sells better than JO1 does. Which is confusing to me.
It is, because they're worse in every way.
Because they're just like,
not that they're that much worse, but they are
feel
just
like
worse.
A little bit like of a lesser JO1 in a lot of ways.
They are.
And maybe that's because they're the second like male produce group that we got out of Annette Isabelle.
I guess what my hypothesis is that I guess JO1 begins a genre,
right? And
people are able to like, I've heard of JO1, but they can like start with I from debut,
right?
So that like creates that level of loyalty. But like JO1 just not blows them out of the water, but like anything that I does, I think JO1 just does it better. Yeah. And that's partially because they aren't giving anything to I that they haven't already given to JO1.
Right. And the other thing is, it's like, because of also where regular J-pop is musically right now, I think I is closer to that because they are a little bit noisier. So that's probably also, I think their music style is probably a little bit more similar. And yet,
weirdly, I don't think that there's anything closer to actual J-pop than Tiger.
Oh yeah,
even more so than
Tiger's a super weird song.
Even more so than anything I has ever done. I think overall I is closer, but nothing is closer, like in a single song, than Tiger is.
Right. Tiger's super weird.
Tiger's a weird song.
It's a weird song.
I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
Yeah, it is like borderline on the like weird mechanical noise music that we do. It's like really bizarre, that song.
I like it though.
I know.
But I also just
like JO1. And I feel like if that song was done by another group with members who are like more obnoxious, I wouldn't like it.
Because like Tiger is JO1's seventh comeback.
Right.
If that was their first comeback,
I don't think I would like them as much as I do.
I've gone down, and when we're at comeback number 7, I give you leeway by comeback number 7 of making great music. But I don't know. I just feel like it's interesting because JO1 and I have always been this intertwined thing for many reasons. Like they're the two produce groups. They were the only two groups in their company for a very long time. Not very long, for a while.
Until very recently, until last year.
But they are the only two that do like K-Cons. They are constantly on M Countdown.
Right.
They're on M Countdown more often than a bunch of actual K-pop groups now, which is interesting.
They are. Because they got the CJ&M connection to get them in there.
They got the CJ&M money.
Which is, so this is also another thing, I guess. I am confused why they haven't tried to officially debut either of them in Korea yet. Which I know that NiziU just did that last year, so I'm hoping that CJ&M and Lapone get on that, and it opens the door for them to do that. Because I feel like both of them could do pretty well, actually, like officially debuting in Korea.
My thought is maybe they're trying. I don't know if it's maybe that they didn't make as big a, but then again, I feel like if them not making as big a splash in J-pop Even though they do very well in Japan. It's not that they do poorly.
Right, like
they do worse than the Johnny's groups.
Yeah, but they're
not by
easily
an infinite amount.
They're easily one of the only other groups that exist in K-pop who isn't an EXILE or Johnny's group that is even making money. Like, they are doing
like,
pretty well given the industry.
Poorly. Yeah. It's not doing poorly. So I don't think that that's the problem. I don't know if maybe that they just want to focus on Japan.
Yeah.
But then again, by 8 comebacks, I feel like they should be able to take like a month off and just come to Korea and do a comeback.
Because also...
Or debut.
JO1 did release a weird English song last year that was, like, I think one of the worst songs they've ever made, because it was really not anything that sounded like they should have ever done that song to begin with. And I don't know what the purpose of that was, because it was clearly not to target the Western audience. Because I don't know why they would just drop in random English song like that and then do nothing about it.
Who's to say?
So I don't fully understand what they were doing there.
Again, maybe CJ&M's being conservative with their money, and they're like, well, no one's ever done it. And I'm like, well, maybe they're waiting for NiziU to do it,
and
so
now
they can
that
see how it
NiziU
works.
have done it, and I think that one pretty average. Okay, it went fine. Like, it didn't go poorly.
It went fine.
So.
Yeah, I don't think it wasn't an embarrassment, but I also don't think
it just sounded like their own music, but in Korean. Yes. So there was nothing about it that I don't think was going to be bad.
I don't know. Maybe JO1's just really bad at learning languages. Maybe they're really bad at Korean.
Maybe. Well, no, because every time they perform on Countdown, they translate their songs into Korean, though. So it's like they have done songs in Korean before.
I don't know, man. I'm trying to come up with excuses. I got nothing.
It doesn't make sense, but that's fine.
Doesn't make sense. Maybe again, CG&M. We'll take a remote position.
Exactly.
Fuck it. Pay for an apartment. I'll move.
Right.
I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll be a consultant. All right. So next, what would be next favorite? I think Anteam.
Anteam, yeah.
So Anteam, Hybe's. The thing with Hybe. Is I feel like these groups are running themselves at this point. There's so many groups.
Yeah. In
such a short amount of time. Because they had 2 comebacks. They had Firework and Warcry. I liked both of them a lot. I thought they were both really fun. They're thriving. I think that they're this year I think they focused them a lot in Japan.
Right.
But also Hybe is putting out so many groups so quickly that it's like, what happened? What happened?
Yeah, I don't.
To the other boys.
I don't know.
Because they weren't even Hybe's new boy group for 6 months.
Right. And Hybe is just really, there's so much going on there, like, always.
Yeah. And, like, here's the thing with Anteam. They consistently put out music. They consistently do like shows. I think they focus them a lot on Japan just because I think like within K-pop I think they've already gotten as much as I think they were going to, just because like they're a K-Jpop group. I think Hybe knows the limits of that of that fan base. Because also, the fans they were going to get because of their island connection. Right. And you already got that.
Yeah, I feel like we came into that and they already kind of had an established fan base ready for that.
Yeah. So I think they're doing pretty well. And I think that Hybe is, now trying to focus on the Japanese market, which I don't know how that's going for them. Mainly just because I don't pay attention to sales data in Japan. Right. Nor do I know how Anteam sales data would be calculated.
Right.
Because
I don't know either.
A lot of, at least because they do seem like they have a decent international audience. And a lot of those people are buying them through K-pop websites. And so many of those K-pop websites, hold on, I own one Anteam album. I'm going to check if it has the sticker on it. Yeah, hold on. So it does not. But I also don't know what that means, because I also think I bought that one through CD Japan.
Oh, yeah.
Because I haven't bought the recent ones. So, I don't know. I thought that would help, but then I remember I didn't buy it through through
the
Korea.
Normal places, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what that would work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be honest, I think they're decently popular. They're Hybe. I think they'll be fine. I think in terms of quality music, they're putting out quality.
Right. It's like, they're pretty, their music is pretty very K-pop, considering the hype comparison too, so.
I mean, it just sounds like what I feel like, ENHYPEN would put out if they debuted in Japan.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
A little less emo.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, they are a little emo, but they're not like, they're not that emo, yeah.
They are the werewolves to the ENHYPEN vampires.
They are.
It's like,
they are indeed.
Werewolves are not nearly as emo as vampires.
Right.
Generally. Because I just think about, like, Dropkick is
vampires feel very emo. Something about that is
werewolves
super emo.
Not so much.
Right.
Again, I just think, like, also in terms of, like, quality of visuals and everything else, no K-Jpop has them beat.
Right, exactly.
Just because of the high money.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
Love them, though.
They're great.
Love them. Who's next?
I'd say Twos, probably.
Twos. So Twos is a new group.
Yes, Twos is a Boys Planet group. Yes. A Boys Planet branch group, as we would call them.
As one would say.
Yes,
because they are adorable.
Love them so much. Their music is so cute.
Because it's Anthony, Takuto,
Haruto,
and
Yuto.
I just called them and Yuto.
Those are the four
from Boys Planet.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just putting out. They're under a J-pop label.
Yeah, they're fully. They feel, I think, the most J-pop out of every group on this list, but they don't even feel that J-pop, honestly. Like, I feel that if out of all of the groups that are here, like, the weird, like, J-pop singing style is probably the most prevalent in them, but they're making the cutest sounding music that it isn't bothering you as much.
Even so, I don't even think the with a little exceptions, I don't think that the singing style is that bad
it's not
with them.
Bad,
I think it's also because that they were so trained to try to be K-pop idols.
Right.
These boys were out here trying to
They were in Wake One for I don't know how long, Wake but they were there.
Anthony was out here before
he was in Produce Japan too.
Japan, which again, you didn't use that singing style back then either.
Right.
Just a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I like them. I have no idea their popularity status.
No clue.
I know their music videos aren't doing that well.
Right. I don't
know what that means.
I feel like how I am for most of the rest of the groups is I have like no gauge on the popularity of most of them. Except for like probably XG. They're also so different than the rest of these groups anyway, so
I think we talk about XG last just because I almost feel like they don't
count. Feel like in a weird, like, separate category in a way.
Yeah.
Because they are K-Jpop, but they're in such a bizarre little, like, side tangent on themselves in comparison to everyone else, so they feel different.
Yeah. Again, I like Twos. I hope that they don't
they don't disappear on us. I really hope so, because I really do enjoy the four of them so much. And I'm glad they're in a group. And I'm glad I also like their music, because they're very cute.
Mm-hmm. That's always a question.
Mm-hmm.
I guess next would probably be Orbit.
Orbit, yeah. Because Orbit did actually make quite a lot of music last year. Yes, they did.
Orbit returned. We're so happy about that, because, dear God, were we like, what the fuck?
Are they dead? Like, what's going on? Like, where are they?
They were dead for like a year.
They were. And we were just like, are we gonna see them again ever? But
are they coming back?
We did.
And they did.
They released quite a lot of music for a group
absolutely.
in the position that Orbit is in last year. What is also very interesting with Orbit is like tracking the status of the Halo members, because all of their like information is in Japanese and no one is out here fan translating what is going on with them. So it's like you just kind of have to infer it from like Instagram post and also like who shows up in their videos, because I feel like we're at the point where the one Halo member is coming back from the military and the other two are gonna go. Or something, because we're gonna do a trade-off.
Happening. Yeah, because they didn't all go at the same time,
right? Because I don't think they were the same age.
No,
but that's always something else that is a weird thing we have to juggle with Orbit. It was like, what's the status on the military enlistment of the Halo members? Which is not a thing that we deal with the rest of K-Jpop because there are no Koreans in these groups, but...
Well, I think 2 of them did come back because...
2 of them came back.
2 of them came back. So, because we're at 7 in terms of, like, recent content that they've been putting out. So that's good.
Yes.
That's great. We love
and
that.
That's all. That's all of them, right? Like, there's 7 people in that group, isn't there?
Yeah. So I think the other one hasn't left.
So he's gonna go eventually, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
It's good to have all of them back as a group for a hot second, though. Like, that's nice.
I mean, they did, like, one comeback with Bullseye.
I think that was this year, so that's
that was
fun.
all of them.
Right.
Even though, like, figuring out that all of them were in that was hilarious because it's the weirdest music video.
It's a super weird music video.
Just like, I don't know what's happening.
I don't know what's going on.
And also, is that all of you? I can't tell.
Right.
But also, what is even happening? That's the least of my concerns about this music video.
Definitely.
Are all of you here?
Right, counting whoever is in that music video, yeah.
Questionable.
That's the first thing.
But I love them, and they're great, and they're not dead, and they're weirdly thriving.
They kind of are thriving, and at least as much as I think they can be thriving. So I love that.
I mean, they're thriving more than those Halo members were doing.
100%, they're doing better than what Halo was doing. So I do love.
So like, it is somewhat of an upgrade. All right, Noah probably, yeah. Noah. Just doing his solo man things. He put out, I think, a full album last year.
Yeah, I think it was a full album. Because we nominated it. Yes, it was a full album.
Yes, because we had like 3 full albums.
Yes.
And then, weirdly, for the comeback, went full Jungkook, but at the same time, Jungkook was happening, so like...
Right, it was very Jungkook, yeah.
Just full 2023 Justin Timberlake.
Right.
And by that, I mean what old school Justin Timberlake would be if he came out in 2023, not what current Justin Timberlake is doing. That one, that's less fun. Yeah, no, I liked it, but dear God, was it weird that both of those were at the same time.
It was very weird. Especially because, like, this is not something that anyone else other than us would have even known what was going on.
Listen to Noah's Between, and that is just Jungkook's.
Yeah, and tell me that's not
Jungkook.
That's not a Jungkook song. Like,
yep, very weird that that's what's happening.
Right.
It's interesting because this is a side tangent right now, but it's interesting that I feel like now that we have this weird K-Jpop thing starting to happen, and companies especially now are starting to put out their own just full J-pop acts. I feel like a lot of K-pop groups, not that they're not debuting in Japan, not that they're not making Japanese music, but I think it's less.
Yeah, I do think, that there's, I think, at least... Because it used to be all the time for every group. It was
used to be like
several times a year, everyone's making a Japanese comeback.
Some groups it would be like every other. Because I remember for a while, Twice was doing like every other comeback was a Japanese comeback for like a couple of years.
Right.
And like the groups, especially that made it big in Japan, would do like multiple Japanese comebacks a year. And now, like I know recently Yena just debuted in Japan, and that took 3 years.
Right.
And I know, like, I don't think it's as much a priority.
I don't think it is, yeah.
Because either I feel like maybe the Japanese fans are... I think they might have realized that people are just okay with listening to songs in languages they do not speak.
Right, that's the thing, is I feel like also, K-pop is so popular in Japan anyway, that I feel like a lot of the fans of K-pop in Japan are probably just gonna be listening to it regardless. So they don't, I feel like, so a lot of groups are not wasting time, like, going out of their way to make as many Japanese comebacks, just because they kind of know they have a fan base there and they would listen to their music.
And it just feels like a waste of, not a waste of time, but, like, such a thing for such a niche market, because the Japanese comebacks never become group staples the way that, like, more Korean comebacks would. Like,
and I think
even if you do good original Japanese songs.
Right. And I think because when you make Japanese comebacks, the way that it's promoted is in such a way that a lot of K-pop fans are not used to. And we've learned that since getting into J-pop, how weird the promotional, like, whole schedule of J-pop is. that I feel like a lot of fans just miss them completely, and so they don't get the international attention that a regular Korean comeback would get. So they kind of feel like almost for groups that are targeting like international, like Western market more so than just specifically Japan, like it feels like they kind of get lost anyway.
Yeah. It just feels very why? Mm-hmm. Why would we, especially because like if a company does want to solely tap into that J-pop market,
right,
they now are just making J-pop groups. A lot of these companies have just decided to make J-pop groups.
Yeah. And I feel like that's we're only going to get more of those as time goes on.
Oh, absolutely. We have a decent amount now. Mm-hmm. DXteen?
DXteen.
So DXteen debuted last year.
Yeah, they're brand new. They're brand new.
They're new boys. I love them. I think they're really fun. No offense, I do think that this is a big issue with Lapone. Mm-hmm. I don't know what makes them fully distinct from both JO1 and I.
Yeah, I don't know why they decided to make the group, honestly, because they feel I think they're a little bit cuter than either.
They're a little bit cuter, but also then you have I doing some of those cute. I think the problem with so many of these,
JO1 does they do the cute stuff. Something about DXteen though does feel to me like they're targeting a younger audience. Yeah,
they do feel a little younger.
So I think that might be why, because even though I is like a newer group, I and JO1 are very similar in age range. Like they're essentially the same age. Like members of groups are the same age.
But at the same time, they're not gonna be new for they are gonna. I feel like within the next year, all of these groups are going to be the same group.
Yeah.
And that is a problem Lapone is making. It is an underrated talent that some K-pop companies have, mm-hmm. that they are able to make. I always go back to Hybe on this just because I think they did it very, very masterfully.
Right.
In that within 5, because for example, TXT is only about 6 years old at this point. Mm-hmm. And within that time, I would never confuse TXT with ENHYPEN, with And Team, with now Twiz, whatever we've decided to call them.
I'm calling them Twiz, but I know that's not the correct name, but that's what I'm going to call them.
Technically, it's To Us, but I'm never going to call them that, dumb. So we're going to go with Twiz. With Boy Next Door, all these groups, objectively looking at them, if you just said what they do, they don't do anything inherently different from each other.
Right.
But that's so many groups where, sure, one song, I feel like some Twiz song maybe could have gone a Boy Next Door or something like that. But, inherently at their core, I think they are fundamentally different.
Right.
And that's a lot of groups to make fundamentally different.
Yeah.
As opposed to these 3, which are different.
Kind of all, the longer the time goes on, are just becoming the same.
They're blending.
Yeah.
They're blending.
Right.
And I do think that is a skill that some companies have that other companies do not have.
Definitely, yeah. Because with a lot of groups, you can tell when they make a new group and their older group, it's because their older group is dying, number one.
Yeah.
And they need to, essentially, they're making a replacement for the older group. Yeah. So there's the same group.
It's not a thing we get very often where companies put out a lot of groups very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Because even, because kind of SM had to do it because of just the weird structure of NCT.
Right.
But even within that, I think they were able to make, NCT's starting to blend.
Well, that's the thing is, the longer NCT went on, the more they all started to sound the same.
Yeah.
We're now at the point where all of NCT sounds the same.
Exactly. And
it took Lapone a lot less time to do that to all of their groups.
To just blend everyone together. Because the other thing with that is that at the very least with other groups, sure, the beginning of one group can sound like the beginning of the other group. But that didn't happen for 5 years because that group is now dying and now they're at the end of their contract and that's when you do it. It's very rare to see K-pop companies put out a large amount of new groups very quickly. I think before Hybe started exploding, I don't know if I'd ever seen something like that.
Right.
Because Lapone did it organically because it's just a lot of these produce groups.
Right.
And, like, the produce groups at the very least had time because, like, the one group would die before the other group would be formed. And also they had the gender breakdown. So, like, you'd never really have them overlap. So they could kind of overlap musically a little bit.
Right.
Lapone, because they're making permanent groups, don't have that happening.
Right.
So they need to make them more distinct. But the problem is that they're just getting... Essentially, I think that if 101 and... X1 would have stuck around for the same time, I do think that there would have been that similar overlap.
I think so. I think...
Because you're just getting people that... Because, like, Kepler... like, good Kepler songs kind of sound a lot like good IZ*ONE songs.
Right.
And it's just because I think the kind of people that win these shows are the same very similar people that are just really good idols.
Right.
But just they're very similar people.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you solve that. I think the way you solve that with DX if they had picked different... But then again, the people that do well in these competitions are all very similar people.
That's the thing, is I feel like there's a very specific type of person who also does well on survival shows, so maybe that is also adding to the problem.
Exactly.
Especially, again, Lapone, I think it's... Because this is the first time we've ever seen Produce done where they're making permanent groups.
Yeah.
We did. I guess we wouldn't have even
lengthy amounts of time to overlap.
I guess it's not a thing we would have ever thought about before.
No.
So, and now that we're 3 produce groups in, plus an extra in DX Teen,
yeah,
we're really seeing it a lot.
It just feels. I now see where the problem's coming from, but I don't know if there's a way to solve it.
Yeah, I feel like Lapone is such a new company too that I don't think they know what
Lapone
to do about it either.
has no resources because also no one else has had this problem.
No, they are
because at least
the only person to ever have this problem.
Because at least with Hybe, how you fix it, you just pick different people to end up in these groups. That's how they did. That's how they've been maintaining that for years. Like kids that are the TAC kids are not the Boy Next Door kids. They're different people. Like they wouldn't work in each other's groups, and that's good.
Yeah,
distinction is good. But then you just end up with like weird overlap in Lapone because it's all the same people that are good at all these other things, and it's weird. But there's no way of fixing it. And, like, the weird thing is all these groups are good. I'm not gonna say that, like,
no, I'm not gonna sit here and tell me that any of these 3 groups are bad. Like, they're making a type of music that I enjoy, so it's like...
But, dear God, do I have the self-awareness to recognize that they're making the same music?
They all sound the same now, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Alright. The next couple we can just go... The next 2, I think, are really easy to go through. OWV and Octopath.
Yeah, because they're around. But we've kind of lost track of them a little bit just with the other groups that are here now. I think they're doing the same thing they were doing before, is really what it is.
They're doing, like, 1 or 2 comebacks a year. And they're still doing good. Prickle is around somewhere.
So I do think they're dead now because I think some of them are going on to Chuang Asia. I'm pretty sure.
Oh God!
So I do think that group might be dying or dead currently.
Who's to say?
But I don't think they're gonna release music in the near future.
Nope. Unless they're Chuang Asia. Oh boy, did you see also that there's like trailers for Chuang Asia?
I did. So
have you seen the at least the judges that we've seen?
Oh yeah. I don't know how I feel.
Are we excited?
I'm not very excited.
I don't think I am.
I am
but
not
also,
very excited.
But also, Jeff is there and he is great. I love Jeff.
I don't know who that is.
He's one of my BL boys from Thailand.
Okay.
That's
kind of great that they got a BL boy on Chuang Asia, but I feel like
thrive for Jeff.
For being in Thailand, that also makes a lot of sense too.
Of course, Jeff would. I love Jeff.
That's fun. I now that I know that, that's very fun.
I'm less excited for Jackson just because I'm
not
sick of
excited
Jackson.
for Jackson. I really do not care about Jackson.
Like, I like Jackson as a person.
Right.
I don't think I like Jackson
Musically, no.
Musically, I don't like. But then again, last time Jackson was a judge, he was great.
He was.
But also, that was like 10 years ago.
He was a great judge 10 years ago. But I haven't seen Jackson in so long now that I'm like, I don't know what he's doing.
Nene being a judge is fine.
That's fine. That makes sense, too.
So many of these judges are... Because... 10 is here.
10's there. That makes sense. Sure,
10 feels like he's going to be the Lisa of this show.
He does feel like he's going to be Lisa.
And also, the one thing I want to say about Mike Angelo, who's on that show as a judge, he is also Thai, but had years of work in China as an actor. Yeah. That's where I know him from. And when I found out he was Thai, it was a shock to me because I thought he was Chinese. Right. But again, very happy for Jeff. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's very fun, knowing
I'm very happy
that now.
Jeff.
I find that very funny.
It's a lot of my worlds colliding, and I still don't love that.
Yeah.
I don't love the BL
don't love
boys.
The increasingly amount of BL culture that is crossing over with K-pop now.
They're all friends, or at least acquaintances, and I don't think I like it. But also, objectively, I think Jeff is the best singer on that show.
Damn.
He's a good singer.
Uh-huh.
No one else, I would say, is a great singer on that show. He's my favorite. I like that we were gonna talk about Prickle, and now we're talking about my opinions on
Jeff of Shueing Asia.
Also, has that show aired? Why are there so many clips?
I don't actually know, to be fair. I thought it was just we were getting a lot of trailers for it, as I thought where we were at.
Do we have a date for that? Live podcasting, and also finding out if we have trailers.
Right.
Do we have a Come on. Do we have an air date? Oh, February 3rd.
Oh, so it did. It literally just started airing.
Jesus. Where can I find episode 1?
Yeah, that's the other question we always have to ask is where is it at?
I found it. Mm-hmm. Well, now we know what we're doing.
Now we know what we're doing as soon as we're done recording this episode. Oh, God. I forgot that we're going to go back to that garbage. I got too used to Asia Super Young.
Where it was 45 minutes an episode?
I know.
Fuck yeah.
So sad.
All right, let's keep going. Niziu exists.
They exist.
Did a Korean...
They debuted in Korea. That's
Thrive.
Sure. Great for them.
Good for them. Mm-hmm. I approve.
It
barely
was
counts.
Yeah, XG, it's like, what do we do without that?
We found out that we actually like XG.
I do like XG a lot. They made really good music last year.
Music.
So as long as they keep doing that type of music, I will be on board with XG.
Really, and it's not even fundamentally that they're making completely different music than they made the year before when they debuted. Right. It's just that I think that either they got some new songwriters or they finally figured out, let's adapt it to just make it good.
Yes, and I also do think that maybe they adapted the sound to be more receptive to the Western audience, mm-hmm. was intended for their group in the first place. Yeah. So I feel like once they got that figured out, the group became a lot better. Yeah.
Because I don't think inherently Shooting Star is fundamentally different than what they were doing.
Well, Tippy Toes and whatever before that, those were weird songs.
Those were weird, but I don't think that they're so they didn't flip the. It's not like when NMIX stopped doing Mix Pop.
Right.
It's not like they fundamentally changed.
It wasn't
what
that
the group
drastic
is.
of a change, but it was definitely
I just think that they figured out how to make, and I think it's just make house music.
Yeah, I think that I would love for them to keep making house music.
Just keep making house music.
Exactly.
Please. That's the best thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you want to end this so you can watch Shueing Asia?
Oh yeah.
Inherently, I'm now more excited for that than I am.
I know. It's going to be so weird to see what the international revival of Produce is going to be. I know.
I mean, I kind of like Asia Super Young just because it takes out all the shit that we...
Yes, but the Asia Super Young is also not Produce related.
No, not at all.
But I think that's what's making it so much better to watch, is because it doesn't have all the bullshit in between.
Yeah. Also, we forgot about Miai.
Yeah, but they also don't exist quite yet, but they will. And we've already kind of talked about how we hope that they're not going to make, regular J-pop. in the produced
Just
Japan
if you want to
episode.
listen to us talk about Miai, we did a full
if you want a more intense
Produce
discussion
101
on
season 3.
Miai, it'll
Japan,
be in that episode.
the girls.
Yes.
Whatever the fuck that season's
Whatever
called.
that is.
Alright. Let's go watch Chuang Asia.
We're gonna go watch Chuang Asia, as we found out just started airing this week. So that'll
as we
be
found
something.
out, we gotta see Jeff.
We gotta go see Jeff and Ten and Jackson.
Jackson. Okay, so this is a trope in those terrible K-pop fan fictions where Jackson was just always there,
right?
Which I know entirely because of everything else, and I'm like, so Jackson just became that person because Jackson's everywhere. Jackson is places where he shouldn't be.
Everywhere I look, I feel like I see Jackson. I'm like, he really, truly can be anywhere
Jackson
at any given time.
Just had a song covered on Asia Super Young,
right? And it was all in English too.
And also, I think he, at least from the clips I'm seeing of the show, he performs that same song on Chuang Asia because why? Because we live in hell.
Yes, everything is the same.
Everything is a flat circle. Let's see if there's at least like 3 girls whose names we remember.
I know.
If we get 3 girls whose names we remember, that's more.
That's a win
That
for
is
us.
more than Produced Japan season 3, The Girls.
Yes, exactly.
A name where I can barely remember the name of the show I watched, much
know.
less the people on it.
Truly. So that
Look, I do.
It'll
and
be
to
something.
that, I also do think that, at the very least, I think Jackson will be more entertaining than both Rain on Asia Super Young and Hongi on Produced Japan, The Girls, The Concept, The Series, The Movie.
I forget about Rain every time until I have to see his face. And
until
I'm just like,
he shows up like a jump scare.
Yeah.
Alright.
Alright.
So that's the episode.
That's the 2024 K-J-Pop update, everyone. Hooray. So
Thrive.
We will be available on all major podcasting platforms, as well as YouTube, where we post all of our episodes, along with fun clip videos occasionally as well. The clip videos are drawing to a close now that the year has come underway, so there will be less of them, but they will be there sometimes.
Whenever we feel like making them. We just had a lot of them to make recently.
Because it was the end of the year time and we had to do award shit, and then we did best songs of all time. But now that we're done with that, there's nothing left to make currently.
Yeah. Maybe we'll make shit about the produce seasons we've seen.
Maybe, because there's a lot. There's been a lot of them. But with that, we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.